Do I really have to spell it out for you? You're a man, and I'm a woman with a certain desire. You figure out the rest.
This is the tale of Anvil's scandalous sirens and all of the raunchy content removed last minute by the developers. Travelling the Gold Coast roads to the sleepy seaside city of Anvil, we rest a spell at the Count's Arms, an upper-class drinking establishment located in the west part of the city. Upon entering, we overhear a rather salacious rumour between the locals.
Greetings, Breton.
Oh, it's you.
You hear about Gogan? A gang of thieves is running a scam in town, and he fell for it. What an idiot.
Are you sure?
Without question.
Maelona and his brother run a nice establishment at the Flowing Bowl.
I've eaten many meals there, and I've always been satisfied.
Be seeing you. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Following the Breton Commoner as he heads off into a nearby room to rest a spell,
How do you do?
we introduce ourselves, and he greets.
Didier Ormely, a ship's clerk. At present, I'm spending my time and gold on the pleasures of the Gold Coast.
We then say, I couldn't help but overhear you mentioned a gang of thieves.
An all-female gang of thieves has been recently plaguing Anvil with a very unique method of robbing. They pick on only the men. If you want to help us do something about it, go talk to Gogan and Maelona. Let's just say Gogan is intimately involved and leave it at that.
With few paltry details, we further inquire. Is this type of occurrence usual here in Anvil?
Many of Anvil's folk are directly or indirectly associated with ships and sailing. Sailors, shipowners, men made rich and poor by the sea trade, and the lonely wives of men who follow the sea. Good day.
Leaving the shipmaster to his R&R, we exit the inn and our quest updates reading. I've heard an all-female gang of thieves is preying on the menfolk of Anvil. While I didn't get all the details, I was pointed in the direction of Gogan and Maelona, two local Anvil residents. Somehow, Gogan is intimately involved, whatever that means. Crossing through the main thoroughfare, we bump into the wandering Gogan who seems to be meandering the township in a minor daze. Speaking to him, he introduces.
What do you want?
We've heard you've had some trouble from a local gang. We're actually wondering if you needed help.
Talk to Maelona. She runs the council. Judge, jury, and executioner.
Do you at least know anything about the ladies that robbed you?
Sorry, I'm new in town. Don't know a soul. Talk to her. She seems to have all the answers.
With that less than helpful interaction, Gogan meanders home like a broken man with his tail betwixt his legs. Following the sad display, we see he resides with his wife in a large two-story abode on the northwest of town. Entering at a more appropriate hour, we take a right at the entrance and are greeted by a sullen Gogan and his irritated wife during breakfast, who questions.
Hello there. How would you like to get my husband Gogan out of hot water?
Presented with 3 possible responses, we can reply. Sorry, but not really.
You men are all alike.
Otherwise, sure, what's he done?
Believe me, he'll need all the help he can get to worm his way out of this one. To think he'd fall for the gang's scheme, ugh, I could kill him. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, and you look confused. Let me explain.
To be honest, I've actually heard about Gogan's incident.
Oh, you heard about that? We were trying to keep it quiet, but people in this city are far too nosy. Very well, since you said you want to help. I don't suppose you've heard all the details about the gang of harlots running their little charade here in Anvil, have you? The women in the gang use their wiles to lure men out to some remote location and rob them blind. It's been going on for some time now. The city guard hasn't done very much about it, because frankly, the men who are robbed are so embarrassed they don't want to report it. Take, for example, that good-for-nothing husband of mine, Gogan. He cared more about their charms than my own.
Noting all this new information into our journal to soon read over, we ask, how do you think we can prove this happened to Gogan?
When Gogan was, with the women, they took something quite valuable from him. No, it's not what you're thinking. He was carrying a precious family heirloom with him when he was lured out to their lair. It was a small ring given to him on our wedding day. The ring belonged to my mother and has been in the family for generations. I'm willing to give you all the money I have to get it back, 100 gold. Can you help us?
We then have two options, either to ignore her pleas responding callously, "Sorry, I don't want to get involved."
I understand. Well, if it's all the same to you, please don't tell anyone about Gogan's indiscretion. If you change your mind, please let me know. Good-for-nothing loss of a husband? He's lucky I still love him.
Otherwise,
Witches! How dare they prey on our men?
yes, I'll help you. Where can we find this gang?
Thank you. I'm afraid I can't offer you much help, but I'll do what I can. All I can tell you is that the best place to start is at the Flowing Bowl. It's a tavern located outside the city walls near the waterfront. Gogan may be able to give you more information beyond that.
Thank you. Look, I'm sorry for the position you've been put in. With all that's happened, you must be sick of Anvil.
I like it here. People are very friendly, much nicer than in the Imperial City. The Flowing Bowl attracts the worst Anvil has to offer. Always be on your guard.
Speaking to Gogan again, he questions.
What do you want?
Look, we're going to need to know what happened if we can help your wife with her lost family heirloom.
I see my wife couldn't keep a big mouth shut. Yes, it's true. I lost the family ring to those sirens. I'm ashamed about the whole incident, but not ashamed enough to ask for your help. I was sitting in the Flowing Bowl when the most fetching Nord woman you've ever seen walked in with an equally attractive Imperial woman following. After we exchanged words, I followed them out to a farmhouse. Inside, they asked me to remove my clothes and items. Well, I did. And then suddenly they brandished weapons and robbed me. They sent me away with barely a stitch of clothing, harlots. Just please, help me get that ring back. I want to save what's left of my marriage. I'm merely a man. How could I resist? What a mess I've gotten myself into.
Turning to leave so we can investigate this Flowing Bowl, we pause a final time and Maelona says,
I've already told you pretty much everything I know about their gang.
Exiting the Red Guard's home, we make our way to the Flowing Bowl down by the docks, and checking over our extensive notes we made during the pair's confession, our journal reads, I've spoken to Maelona, a Red Guard commoner who lives in Anvil. It seems that a gang of female thieves has taken up residence somewhere nearby. They're luring men out to their farmhouse by seducing them, and then, in actuality, robbing them of all their goods when they arrive. The men are so embarrassed about this that they won't report it to the authorities. Maelona's husband is one of the victims. Upon further questioning her, I've discovered that Maelona's husband Gogan was carrying a family heirloom when the all-female gang robbed him. She's desperate to get the ring back and is offering 100 gold for its return. Maelona told me that the men are usually approached at the local watering hole, the Flowing Bowl. That's where I should make contact with the gang. After speaking to Gogan, I've learnt that there are two gang members, an Imperial and a Nord. They lure men to a remote location, trick them into removing their clothes and equipment, and then ambush them while they are defenseless. I think at this point, I have enough information to pay a visit to the Flowing Bowl. Once inside the seedy bar, we immediately overhear two patrons discussing a local strumpet.
Mirabelle Monet is quite a woman. Ask any of the sailors down at the Folkal.
I've heard that Mirabelle spends a lot of time with the sailors. A lot of personal time with them.
Take care.
I'm through talking to you.
Afternoon.
So, this Mirabelle sounds like she may be intimately involved with sailors, and perhaps our next best lead on the whereabouts of Gogan's wife's ring. Heading to the end of the docks, we look to enter the Foxhal's private rooms, where we're promptly confronted by its innkeeper, the rumoured voraciously promiscuous Mirabelle Monet, who confirms said rumours in a thinly veiled greeting.
I'm Mirabelle Monet. I run the Folkal, a boarding house for sailors. Sorry, I reserve my beds for seamen.
Oh, really? We did hear you personally took care of seamen here in town. Care to explain?
Watch yourself around the forecastle. Sailors despise landsmen and won't hesitate to treat them to a good beating when they're in their cups.
As an aside, the developers have actually gone to pains to confirm Mirabelle's scandalous assertions, as according to the wiki, at midnight she takes a leisurely stroll down the dockside, actively seeking out one of her tenants, Crognac Grobrock. In his company, she'll watch the fight between Thurindil and hauls ropes faster until 4 a.m. At that time, most of the sailors retire to their rooms at the forecastle, and Mirabelle will follow. Having a slight preference for Thurindil, she'll most likely choose to sleep with him first, although Anguillon or Crognac Grobrock could get lucky as well. Getting tired of her first partner at 6 a.m, she shifts between beds and will sleep with either Anguillon or Crognac, or maybe even Thurindil if he wasn't her first choice for the night. With Mirabelle remarkably being open about her dalliances, we press. So, you've been taking care of the men in town. What happened with Gogan and his ring?
You hear about Gogan? A gang of thieves is running a scam in town, and he fell for it. What an idiot. Take care.
Oh, we then put two and two together. Mirabelle seems quite innocent, though promiscuous. Why would she incriminate herself so brazenly? Plus, Monet is actually a Breton name. Heading back to the Flowing Bowl, we see the bartender for a drink and wait for the ladies to appear. This is where the quest takes two distinct paths based on your gender selection and a lesser-known fail state, which is actually quite rare for Oblivion. First, exploring the female path. As the locals gather in, we find not much movement. However, as we move to leave the bar, the two women fitting Gogan's description materialise in the door, and the tall Nord approaches, guiding.
Talk to Faustina. She's got a proposition for you.
Her partner, Faustina Cartier, then introduces.
Never seen you here before. You look like you can handle yourself in a fight. And I'm sure you wouldn't mind making a little extra money. I've put together a gang. We make money by luring fools out to the middle of nowhere and robbing them blind. Our targets? Weak-willed men who are easily fooled into believing they will have their way with us. Oh, men are so gullible. I'll leave the decision up to you. If you want to join up, meet us at the Breton farmhouse around 11 in the evening. I'll mark it on your map. Oh, and one more thing. If you breathe a word of this to the city guard, you won't live long enough to get whatever reward they're offering.
You want us to join a prostitution ring?
Just to be perfectly clear, we're not prostitutes. We do everything on our own terms, and the men never, ever lay one hand on us.
Speaking to Signy once more, she welcomes.
Hello. Be nice to get another pretty face in the gang. Hope to see you there.
What's so good about your gang?
You can make a good deal of money in our gang, but you have to be willing to show a little skin, if you know what I mean. Be nice to have someone else to do the, dirty work.
Wasn't I clear?
If instead we meet the ladies as a male, Faustina will first direct.
Yes, you'll do just fine. Signy will tell you all the details. Signy wants to talk to you. I think you'll like what she has to say.
Hey there, handsome.
Signy then propositions.
I haven't seen you here before. Ah, and you're all alone, too. How sad. Well, if you're up to it, I think we can solve that little problem. You see, me and Faustina here are lonely, too, and we've been looking for someone. You look like just what we need. I'll tell you what. We have a cozy farmhouse not far from here where we could, well, get to know each other much, much better. I'll mark it down on your map just so you won't forget where to find us. Meet us there around 11 o'clock. I can promise you a night of fun you won't soon forget.
What do you mean, night of fun?
Do I really have to spell it out for you? You're a man, And I'm a woman with a certain desire. You figure out the rest.
Approaching her again, she instructs.
Patience. We'll have all night. Trust me when I say we'll give you a night to remember.
Speaking to the Imperial Temptress, while she's busy gyrating her hips, she will flirt.
Can't wait to see you later. Don't keep us waiting.
Looking forward to a night of fun.
Hope you're not planning to get much sleep. Drink up and eat something. You'll need your strength.
Leaving the bar to meet the two ladies at 11, we apprise Gogan of the gang's movements, and he warns.
I heard you made contact with the gang. Beauties, aren't they? A farmhouse? Last time it was a cabin. They must be moving around, just be cautious. They met me at 11 as well. And believe me, I arrived right on time.
Seems Gogan has fonder memories than expected. However, his partner, Maelona, has a much more solemn message.
I knew they would make contact with you. Be careful. There's no telling what they're up to. They've never hurt anyone yet, but it's never too late for them to start.
Heading to the farm, our quest updates reading, if the player is a male, Signy Homewrecker has met me at the Flowing Bowl, accompanied by Faustina Cartier. She enticed me to meet her at their farmhouse around 11 this evening, for a night of fun I won't soon forget. I've decided to take them up on their tempting offer, as this will point me in the direction of their hideout. The farmhouse seems to be just outside of Anvil in the settlement named Gweden. Or, if the player is female, Faustina Cartier approached me after I arrived at the Flowing Bowl. She said that I had what it took to join their gang, and if I was interested, to meet them in their farmhouse at a small settlement outside of Anvil called Gweden around 11 tonight. This was the break I was looking for, so I'll follow my map to that location. Approaching the small farmlet to the southeast earlier in the day, a quest and updates again, regardless of gender reading. I've arrived at Gweden. I'll need to wait until around 11 in the evening to go inside and find out what Faustina and Signy have in store for me. This is once more where the quest diverges for male and female gender options, plus the aforementioned naughty cut content that was left in the game files but the developers removed pre-launch, if we enter the farm as a female. Looking around the interior of the room, we see to the east the scarlet-draped boudoir, and spy candles, various assortments of alcohol, fire for temperature, and Faustina beside the large bed. Seeing us, she approaches.
I see you decided to take us up on our offer. Good. We could use another gal in the gang. Here's how it works. We case the Flowing Bowl for a likely subject. Namely, we look for a married guy who drinks a lot. Then we'll send you in there where you charm the man and get him to come out to some location we pick to rob him. When he gets there, we make him take off all his clothes, which is very easy, by the way. While they're helpless, that's when we spring the trap. So far, we haven't had to draw one drop of blood. The best part of the whole thing is that the men are so embarrassed they won't tell the guards. So, the bottom line is, you show a little skin, just a tease. No one touches you. What do you say?
We can then question, what if I say no?
Well, that's never happened before. I suppose we'd have to kill you. I mean, we can't have you going back to Anvil and ruining the whole plan. But why say no when it's so much easier and more lucrative to say yes? Or are you here for something else?
With only one option, we're forced to declare. I'm here for Gogan's ring.
Damn, I knew it. You're working for the city guard, aren't you? I didn't think they would be stupid enough to send someone alone. But so be it. I should have known after I fenced that stupid ring and discovered it was a fake. Worthless. All part of the guard's plan, I suppose. Okay, girls. We got someone who doesn't want to cooperate.
Faustina immediately casts a spell of invisibility, and her fellow Khajiit seductress Serena falls on us.
Let's get this over with.
As the cat first succumbs to her wounds, we realise Faustina's deadly blade is draining our intelligence and knock it from her hand as we slash her torso, and she falls limp to the floor. Researching her body, we find her basement key, a small amount of gold, and her high-class red velvet outfit to match the decor. By the bed, we scoop up her nasty blade, named Wilt Splitter. Examining it, we see it is a powerful knife for any wizard who would dare err its wielder. Lifting the Khajiit's outfit and valuables, we move to see what's inside said basement, only to be rushed by the incensed Nord Signy Homewrecker. With all three ladies dead, our quest updates reading, after entering their farmhouse, I encountered Faustina, who tried to convince me to join in on their scheme. When I told her no, she yelled out and the rest of the gang entered the room fully armed and ready for battle. I had no choice but to kill them. Next, let's explore the male version before showcasing the dirtier cut content unique to males, and finally highlight the sordid secret lying in the basement. Entering the farm, Faustina awaits us and purrs.
I see you took us up on our offer. Good. I'm glad to see you. Signy will be along shortly. I'm sure we can find something to do while we wait. Now, we can't have you standing there all uncomfortable in all those clothes. Why don't you take everything off and place it there on the table?
At this stage, we have only one option to reply and cannot disrobe, instead saying, "Sorry, darling, I'm afraid not."
What? What are you talking about? Don't you want to have fun? Come on, don't be shy. Or are you here for something else?
As with the female playthrough, we can only confess we're here for Gogan's ring.
Okay, girls, we got someone who doesn't want to cooperate.
Which similarly results in combat.
Best you can do. Let's get this over with.
And we're forced to outright murder the trio. Our quest and updates reading. After entering the farmhouse, I encountered Faustina, who tried to convince me to join in on their scheme. When I told her no, she yelled out and the rest of the gang entered the room fully armed and ready for battle. I had no choice but to kill them. So, what is the raunchy cut content? Well, in the German and French versions of the game, there are unused voice files that suggest, at a certain point in development at least,
I knew you'd show up.
it was actually possible for a male character to take up on the siren's offer instead of getting into a fight. Congruently, downloading the Siren's Deception mod, we can explore this option, and upon the Imperial's request, disrobe.
Now, we can't have you standing there all uncomfortable in all those clothes. Why don't you take everything off and place it there on the table? This is going to be fun.
Having taken off our clothes and being suitably vulnerable,
Am I supposed to be impressed?
Die, Imperial! Die!
the ladies would once again predictably pounce. And killing them, our quest would have updated. After entering the farmhouse, I encountered Faustina, who enticed me to remove my weapons, armor and clothing and place them aside. Once I did so, she yelled out and the rest of the gang entered the room fully armed and ready for battle. I had no choice but to kill them. Conversely, an earlier version of the quest, as mentioned, would have given us the option to force Faustina to back down and surrender, then take her into custody while the other sirens seemingly died. The Siren's Deception mod, to their credit, also recreated the gals being arrested by clever use of a paralyze spell, so that they could be apprehended by the guards who burst in the room. It should be noted, regardless of how the encounter goes down, whether male, female, or cut content, Maelona, in full guard uniform, approaches us saying,
We had a feeling you'd be surprised when you saw us in our real uniforms. I see you have a puzzled look on your face. Ask away.
"Why didn't you just apprehend the gang before?"
Gogan and I are really members of the Anvil City Watch. I suppose you could say we work undercover. We've been trying to foil Faustina's gang for months now. Every time we tried to interview a man who was lured there, they refused to talk. The women in the gang picked married men to seduce for just that reason. It was decided the only way to stop this gang was to send in a stranger. You fit the bill perfectly. It's a shame it had to end in so much violence, but someone was bound to get hurt sooner or later.
As there is no dialogue for the Imperial being spared, we say, what about Faustina?
We'll clean up the mess. Don't concern yourself about it. I'm sure you had no choice. If you ever find yourself back in Anvil, stop by any time and say hello. Oh, and please say nothing to anyone about our true identities. You've done well, and here's the reward that I promised. Don't spend all the money from the reward in one place.
We then receive a leveled 300 gold, and approaching Maelona once again as she investigates the grisly scene, she dismisses.
We have a lot of paperwork and follow-up investigation to do. Please, leave us to it.
Attempting to speak to her undercover partner, Gogan, he too shoos us away.
Little busy right now. Got your mess to clean up.
Scooping up the lady's belongings, we briefly see Gogan a final time as he loiters near the basement door, and he advises.
Sorry, can't talk right now.
Got a lot to do here. We can talk later in Anvil.
Inside said basement, we plumb its depths to discover its sordid secrets. Its interior belies a living quarters where the trio had set up shop proper. Next to one of their bedside tables sits the appropriately smutty novel, The Lusty Argonian Maid. However, the items we truly desire are found in an eastern room. Inside we see the previously mentioned items of value the girls would either sell or blackmail the married men with in town, such as Ernest's belongings consisting of shoes, best shirt and fancy pants for the occasion. What is truly interesting is that these rare items have no weight, but also, thanks to their naming, we can track down each cheater in town and somewhat piece together their reasoning for being unfaithful. Starting with Ernest, who is a Red Guard commoner and tends the horses at the Horse Whisperer's stables outside of Anvil. Without his fancy pants, he wears a modest lower-class outfit consisting of a coarse linen shirt, coarse linens, and a pair of rough leather shoes. He carries a small amount of food, gold, and his rake. The reason for his straying seems to be derived from his forced vocation, as while his wife Clessa seems overly happy about the business and will say,
I'm Clessa. My husband and I run the Horse Whisperer, the finest stables in Anvil County.
Outwardly, Ernest will be less impressed. His bad mood seems to have been caused by an ill-advised career change.
If you're looking to buy a horse, go inside and talk to Clessa. I used to be a knacker. That's how I fancy my horses, ripe, stiff, and silent. Hate it when they stare at me, dumb beasts. Leave me alone.
A knacker being a person whose business is the disposal of dead or unwanted animals, especially those whose flesh is not fit for human consumption, which makes sense as another more bitter greeting was recorded for Ernest but never could be heard in-game when he said,
I'm Ernest. This is the Horse Whisperer, Anvil's only stable. Park your nag here or leave him for the wolves, your choice. I'm through talking to you.
Curiously, next in the trophy room, we find a necklace of one Astia. However, this makes sense when we also locate her husband Pinarus's iron cuirass, shirt, and prized minotaur horn. Pinarus is an imperial hunter of some repute living in Anvil with his wife. Townsfolk can be overheard praising his marksmanship, saying,
Pinarus Inventius is quite the hunter. He can track about anything, and he's deadly with his bow.
You could learn a lot from Pinarus.
Bye.
When we meet Pinarus for the first time, he will introduce himself and his passions in life.
What's this about? Pinarus Inventius, hunter, woodsman, and marksman at your service.
When asked about Anvil, he will go into detail.
Plenty of deer, wolf, boar, mountain lion, bear in the county. Just need to know where to look for them. Good day.
But what else has Pinarus been hunting? Well, when we find his wife Astia Inventius, an imperial commoner, painting by the docks during the day, and it becomes clear that Pinarus's wandering lifestyle and eyes may be due to her demeanor, or perhaps her demeanor is due to learning he attempted to gift her necklace to a young harlot, as she gruffly greets,
Astia Inventius, wife of the woodsman Pinarus Inventius. Always out hunting. Anything to avoid doing a little work around the house.
If we ask about Anvil, she'll say,
Well, if you don't mind scruffy sailors smelling like bilge, it's a lovely town. The men are all the same, drunk and shiftless.
Stop talking.
And finally, Heinrich Oakenhull. On a table on the far side of Gwedon's closet, we locate a chest containing the Oakenhull family jewels, as well as Heinrich's shirt, pants, and shoes. Unfortunately, we can guess at Heinrich's reason for lavishing the ladies with gifts, as Heinrich Oakenhull, a Nord pirate, is a captain and shipmaster residing in his hometown Anvil while his ship is being refitted. He's married to Hassathil, a Bosmer, and this unusual relationship is a regular conversation topic among the townsfolk.
The shipmaster, Heinrich Oakenhull, has a wood elf for a wife. I'd rather sleep with my horse.
I don't know what would possess him to do that. Marrying a Bosmer is just wrong.
You don't see a lot of human Bosmer marriages. I don't know if it's even legal in Cyrodiil.
Heinrich Oakenhull is married to a Bosmer? I suppose the women are less annoying than the men.
To his credit, Heinrich, more obliging than other pirates on the dockside, will politely introduce himself.
Greetings, Imperial. Heinrich Oakenhull, captain and shipmaster. My ship is in for refitting, so I'm high and dry for a while.
And when asked about Anvil,
Anvil wouldn't be my choice for a refit. No proper yard, neither spars nor scantlings in good supply, but it's ill luck to complain. Be seeing you.
So, why the cheating? Well, as covered in a previous Top 5 Cheaters in Oblivion video on the channel, linked at the end of this video, when speaking to his Bosmer wife, she greets,
I'm Hassathil, Heinrich Oakenhull's wife.
And when asked about Anvil,
The life of a sailor's wife isn't an easy one. Heinrich is at sea 9 months out of 10. But Anvil's a friendly town, and the 9 console me. Take care.
it's not just the 9 that console her though, as it becomes apparent that as an acolyte of Devella, the Aedra of love, beauty, and apparently infidelity, free love is rampant in Anvil, especially when coupling the gods' views on sexuality mixed with the absentee husbands of the town, as when following the Bosmer's routine, we can catch her at the back of the White Horse stables for a daily encounter with none other than local fellow Bosmer, Enreloth, the blacksmith's apprentice. With the case all but solved, there are only 2 things left to explore: meeting the town guards in Anvil as they instructed, and the lesser-known method of failing the quest. As we head back to the sleepy city of Anvil, we learn the Black Horse Courier has already reported on the incident, reading, Special Edition, Gang of Tarts thwarted. Temptress has terrorized Anvil no more. A ruthless crime ring of female thieves plaguing Anvil's menfolk has finally been broken. These shameless women employed feminine wiles to seduce the men, lured them to remote locations, then robbed them, leaving them without a stitch of clothing. The gang's ringleader, Faustina Katia, had preyed upon Anvil's male population for some time, but the shamefaced victims had been reluctant to admit what was happening. Now, thanks to an extensive undercover operation by 2 unnamed Anvil Guard investigators, and with the aid of an anonymous private operative, this menace to Anvil's men has been summarily dealt with, and the wives of Anvil may rest easier, knowing their gullible husbands will no longer be imperiled by predatory seductresses. With all the pieces finally in place, we pay a visit to Gogan and his wife, expecting their charade has ended and they're happy in their success. Yet Gogan greets.
They still aren't letting me live this down.
What do you mean? You caught the gang.
Everyone's making fun of me because I fell for the siren's charms. Well, now I have the last laugh. Do me a favor. Don't say anything to the other guards that I fell for it, okay? Thanks.
So Gogan really did fall for it. That's embarrassing. No wonder he wanders the streets. Heading into his shared abode, Maelona welcomes.
I'm afraid I have very little information to add to our follow-up investigation.
So the gang is caught, among others.
It appears that you got all of them. We never found evidence of any other members. Nice work. You're sharp for an adventurer. If you ever decide to retire, I'm sure the Anvil City Watch would love to have you.
We then leave the husband and wife to sort things out, having enough of Anvil's hospitality for one day. But that leaves us to the final, little-known option being, how do we fail the quest early? If, when we first meet the Anvil tarts in the flowing bowl, and decide not to take them up on their filthy proposition by attacking them outright. Our quest then updates saying, I fear I've slain one of the gang members prematurely. Although this puts a stop to the crimes, a better way may have been available had I followed through with the undercover operation. However, evading justice, we can visit Gogan, who admonishes.
All that work gone to waste. I can't believe you did that. Maelona is furious.
Likewise, seeing Maelona for a final time, she reveals her identity and scolds.
I can't believe it. Stupid. Just plain stupid.
You said you wanted them taken care of.
I can't believe you just went ahead and killed that gang member. Gogan and I were actually working undercover for the Anvil City Guard. Your actions have set back our investigation and maybe driven the rest of the gang into hiding. Nice work. Next time you want to help out, just don't.
When the quest is ended, the wives of Anvil can find peace, as rumours of the gang's dissolution is well received in town.
I have it on good authority that the City Watch sent someone to stop that gang of women from robbing the town's men. Good show, I say.